Ladies and gentlemen, we come to you today and we come to you with the news that we've all been saying since morning. Lion of the bar, Soli Sorabjee, is no more. Across the day today, we'll be paying our odes to Soli, someone we've all known extremely closely. He's worked very closely with Republic TV. Personally, I've known him for more than a decade, and Mr. Sorabjee at 91 was someone who was full of life, always ready to listen, very fond of his jazz, very fond of knowing the news. And whenever he spoke with me and I asked about his health, he always used to shush that aside and say, "Tell me what the news is." The last conversation we had before his 91st birthday was also about his news. He was excited about his birthday, and that is what we were doing. I'm welcoming on the show one of his friends, someone he was also practiced with him at the Bombay bar. Senior Advocate of the Supreme Court, Iqbal Chagla, also someone who's been former president of the Bombay Bar Association. Mr. Chagla, your association with Mr. Soli Sorabjee goes back through a long way. Many decades have gone by. You both worked together at Khurshedji Bhawa's chambers. Take us through those earlier days. How do you remember and want to remember Soli Sorabjee?
My memories of Soli Sorabjee go back, as you said, a long time, and that long time means 1962, when I joined the bar. I joined the chambers of Khurshedji Bhawa, and my recollections of Soli then and continue to be of a consummate lawyer, a great advocate. He could turn a case around by sheer advocacy, apart from his legal merits. But apart from the profession, it was for me the beginning of a lifelong friendship between his wife Tina and my wife Roshan and the two of us. And there were dinners at his home when Zina was the consummate hostess. The dinners were very often it was just fun and games. At other times, it was the most interesting company that he always invited, either from India or even from abroad. And those were the dinners I recollect so well. And more than anything else, it was Soli's interest, which was so wide-ranging, well beyond the confines of the law. His love of literature, especially poetry, his passion for jazz, all of this transcended in many ways his legal interests. Soli and Zina had a particular fondness for my father, which was reciprocated in great measure. They both very affectionately always referred to him as Dad. And whenever my father was in Bombay, Soli would always want him over for dinner, and which my father very happily accepted. And those dinners, they discussed literature, they discussed the days gone by in the judiciary, and presently the problems, political and otherwise. And I particularly remember a holiday we had in Mahabaleshwar, his beloved Mahabaleshwar, Soli's beloved Mahabaleshwar, where we were invited and we stayed in his very delightful old-fashioned home, which I now believe has been refurbished. It was a happy, happy time. And Soli always spent New Year's Eve in Mahabaleshwar. In fact, the entire Christmas vacation, when Nani Palkiawala would come just for the one night to bring in the new year, that was a very great friendship. Nani never went anywhere else except to Soli's house. But more than anything else, I remember Soli's birthday as being, for him, the most important event in the entire calendar. It was almost childlike, the manner in which he spoke about his birthday and the manner in which he welcomed it. When it was in Bombay, it was all his friends, and he would happily accept the presents and open them the next day like a child would. And in Delhi, it became even a larger, grander affair when there would be politicians, judges, and the lot. And of course, if the court, by any chance, fixed a date for the hearing of his matter, which happened to be his birthday, he would turn to his opponent in the matter and say, no, good heavens, no, we can't have that. That's my birthday, you know. And the court would be informed, and the court would very happily then give another date, which would be convenient to Soli, and which was not his birthday. And it is, for me,
Yes,
a void which I believe is going to be an enormous void in the lives of my wife and myself. It is the passing of a friend, someone who was larger than life, who loved life so much. And for Zina, his wife, for Zia, his daughter, his sons Jahangir and Hormas and Jamshid, it is an irreparable loss. I can offer no words of solace to them,
yes.
except to say that they have been very much in our thoughts.
Yes, and that's beautiful, sir, what you've said. I also remember 9th of March, like you said, when the parties were in the capital. I was invited, like many journalists were there, and he was enthralled. There was first an email that used to come from Mr. Sorabjee, after which there used to be a personal call, and he used to always, like you said, with childlike innocence, always say, are you going to come here? This is a life well lived. This is a life that we also need to celebrate, whether it was his vacations in the United Kingdom, which he enjoyed, and he used to talk, like you said, with childlike innocence about the love he had to go to Boots, the chemist store, and take his medicines, whether it was going for a cup of tea. He was extremely fond to share a cup of tea with one biscuit that he used to have, and he was very fond of that. Or whether it was, like you said, his love for reading. Whenever one went to his house to ask him a question, he used to always show the books, his love for jazz. Shakespeare is something that he was very fond of. I also want to go down a memory lane to those early years, because he championed the cases of emergency and freedom of press. Personally, Mr. Chagla, when it came to us and certain moments at Republic TV when we've had and asked him for advice, he always came forward, had a fond word for Arnab, and always said, yes, I'm standing here, I've championed the rights for the press and I'll continue to do so. But in the early days, when you all fought together, whether it was the emergency, whether it was those books that he wrote on emergency, it is these constitutional cases that he most loved to talk about and to deal with.
I think for him, two very, very important cases, where one was a passport case, which he argued, and which he succeeded. And I think that laid down the law, a salutary law, the right to obtain a passport. And the other was, as you said, during the emergency, on censorship, which ultimately led to the book that he wrote on censorship. And where he fought valiantly and resulted in some great law being laid down, even during the emergency in the Bombay High Court, where we had judges of great stature, of great independence, even during those dark days. And this is, I think, what I remember largely of his great contribution. Of course, his contribution to the law is enormous. Twice to be Attorney General of India is no small matter. And apart from the time when he was Attorney General, even when he appeared, his great passion was always constitutional law. He didn't much care for commercial litigation and didn't appear very much in commercial litigation. But it was in the writ court, in the Bombay High Court, he was in almost every matter appearing for the petition.
Yes, yes. That's a beautiful ode that you've paid to Mr. Sorabjee, Mr. Chagla. I thank you for that. And as we're going to remain through the day, viewers, with tributes pouring in from the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, and others for the doyen of the bar, we'll continue to say that he lives on, his spirit lives on with the kind of work he's done and the kind of things he leaves us with. We celebrate Mr. Sorabjee through the day today. Stay with us. Thank you, sir,
Indeed.
for giving us your time.
Indeed, we do celebrate his life. We do not mourn his passing, we celebrate his life. Thank you very much.